everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I came across this discussion on oilprice.com in the forums that I thought you might be interested in. I actually found it originally from 8chan, but then it was kind of transferred over here and there's some other information. So I thought I would just go over it all with you and leave the link down below as always so you can read it on your own. But it's very interesting. And it's entitled Why Oil is Falling, including conspiracy theories and other fun stuff. So this guy starts out and he says, I read the following on another website, 8chan, and thought I would share it here to see if anyone can enlighten me more on the details of these presumed events. Like I said, I did not write this, but there are certainly some fun ideas in it. Enjoy. Okay. So remember, this isn't a Anand's theory that he put out there. So I just wanted to share it with you. It doesn't mean that it's true. It just means that this is a theory he's putting out. It sounds good, but who knows? At this point, we're not sure exactly what's going on. But it does give some explanation to some things, and it does make sense to me. So I wanted to share it with you. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research. But this is what one person had to say. As I go through this, I'm going to also compare to the next post because I think it helps if you see number 1 and number 1 because that's how the guy wrote it. And so I think it'll make more sense if I do it that way instead of reading all the way through this post and then going to the next post because you'll see the comments kind of fit together better. I hope. So here we go. Number 1, Trump has a sit down with the King of Saudi Arabia last year. The king holds a sword dance to honor President Trump. Sword dance equals big deal in Saudi Arabia. That is a big deal. It was a high honor that they paid him. Okay, that's something that the media really has not impressed on us, but it was a very high honor that they paid to him. Okay, now the other guy who's commenting on it, he says, not my update below. Copy and paste from another site. So I'm assuming that his name is Q&Oil. So I'm kind of thinking that he probably is a Q follower too, and he probably got it from 8chan. So anyway, here you have them, a post of POTUS and MBS together here, both giving the thumbs up. And this was part of the ceremony. It was something that was very significant as well. And more of the ceremony. MBS really treated POTUS very well. We go down here and this guy says, or this second post says, I cleaned up Anand's theory, changed up a few things and made it harder to be skeptical. A picture of what is currently unfolding. Number 1, Trump has a sit down with the King of Saudi Arabia last year. That's what the other guy said. The welcoming Trump received was jubilant, and his speech in front of the leaders from the Muslim nations was unprecedented. If you've not seen that speech, it's about 30 minutes long, and you can go here. I will make sure that I put that link down below to the speech. It was really good. In it, he presented how the Middle East needs to come together and join with the rest of the world to stand up against terrorism and all of this. He really presented it in that way that Trump can, where he spoke total truth. So it's well worth listening to and sharing with other people. Ironically, it's on CNN's channel. Isn't that something? Let's go on with the next one. Number 2. Last November, the House of Saud is cleaned up. That was in 2017. Okay, the Ritz Hotel becomes a jail. A certain prince who had connections to the Vegas shooting is stripped naked and hung upside down from the ceiling to tell the others they ain't messing around. Their money is confiscated. If you don't know, there is a significant Saudi Arabia connection to the Las Vegas shooting. That's part of all this too, but the connection does not lead to MBS. Okay, and MBS stands for Muhammed bin Salman, the new crown prince. Okay, so MBS is just a lot faster to say, and that's what he's known as. So this one says, a few months later, the House of Saud has a major swamp draining at the behest of MBS and his father. The Ritz Hotel was turned into a jail for the rich and powerful members of the Saudi deep state and their assets, which were extensive. I think tens of billions. So yeah, they had like major money and it was seized. So it really tied their hands. It was a big deal. But we didn't hear too much about it over here in the United States because it was not something that our news media wanted to report on. Hmm. Anyway, so yes, that was going on. Last year, I believe it was in December or November. I can't remember which. Number three, while deep state is an American term, let's call it the New World Order or global cabal for the international level. That's just using the terminology because really it is deep state is what we're actually talking about in our government, but it really is a concept that is global. It is a global mafia. And if you haven't seen my video called Dismantling the Global Mafia, you really need to go check it out. I'll put a link up in the corner with the little information thing so you can take the link there and go watch it. But this is what Trump is about. His goal is to dismantle the global mafia. And that's what he's working on. It's not an easy job, and there are so many factors in it that when people are complaining about how he's treating MBS, they just don't understand that whole picture. I mean, MBS is kind of a mob boss, but he's working with Trump. Because he had all those princes arrested, he is showing that he's trying to clean things up in Saudi Arabia. And so we really want to support that. And the death of one journalist in all this, although it's very sad, it was gruesome and everything, but there's more to it. And I think you'll see that as we go on. By the way, I am sure YouTube is going to demonetize this one. They do not like it when I say this kind of stuff. And yeah, they demonetized the one on the dismantling the global cabal too. They just don't want the truth out. What can I say? But that's all right. I'm still going to make videos. So here we go. With this one, it says, anyway, they, the DS, lose their men inside the Saud kingdom as Muhammed bin Salman cleans house literally. So yes, he did. He had a lot of them that he had arrested. So, and then over here, number three, the arrest of the Saudi deep state had a profound effect on the U.S. deep state. Think especially of Alwaleed bin Talal, who was the largest shareholder in Citigroup, who, thanks to WikiLeaks, was found to have selected nearly every member of Hussein Obama's cabinet. Yes, very true. The deep state, led by such families as the Rothschilds and the Pacers, by the way, that should be EU instead of UE, need to get back at Saudi Arabia. Specifically, they need to take MBS out. They set a trap, and this Khashoggi character becomes a pawn to be sacrificed. These people don't care if they kill off their pawns. They really don't. So number four here. The new alliance between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia focuses on reducing the nefarious influence of deep staters by targeting their finances. Trump signed the Global Magnitsky Act shortly after Saudi Arabia experienced their purge. That, combined with aggressive sanctions placed on Iran and the new Saudi Arabian Global Center for Combating Terrorism, meant that the deep staters were losing assets and power. And those are two things that the deep state hates to lose. So we go back here. Number five, Khashoggi dies. MBS is framed. Ideally, this is intended to create a rift between Trump and Saudi Arabia, since Trump is supposed to give in to pressure and place sanctions on Saudi Arabia. With waning finances and power, the deep state were limited in their ability to harm the new relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. They've tried many things to tarnish the relationship, but as their desperation grows, and as the number of nefarious characters at risk also increases, example, the U.S. media facing the prospect of being exposed for their collaboration with the previous administration to prevent and derail the presidency of Donald J. Trump, they attempt to fabricate pressure through the murder of Khashoggi. If he is dead, then it was assuredly at the behest of Iran and Turkey. Probably very likely so. Back here to number six. This doesn't happen. Khashoggi dies and they were trying to force Trump into turning on Saudi Arabia. This doesn't happen. Instead, MBS tells the Rothschilds and the Pacers to F off. And immediately he tanks the price of oil. So this was kind of a symbol to the deep state and the global cabal that he wasn't going to do that, and Trump was going to stay his ally. This is why it was so important. It doesn't have to do with all the jobs. That's just the line that Trump is putting out there. What's he supposed to do? Say this? Nobody would believe him. The media would make fun of him, even though it's true. they would just totally ignore him and they would use it against him. So he can't say that. He has to say the other. So number 6, the effort to pressure Trump to condemn MBS in Saudi Arabia through complicity by the U.S. media doesn't work. MBS and Trump fight back by further hurting the pocketbooks of wealthy controllers. Think about the recent sharp decrease in the cost of oil. This has forced many of the most powerful to liquidate stock holdings to make up for the losses they have incurred due to sanctions and the sharp decrease in the petrodollar. They have had to sell massive amounts of stock. The Dow has dropped 1,500 points in the last week. This is what's happening. They're dropping stock because they're running out of money. And that's one reason why you're seeing this fluctuation in the stock market. So hang on. It really is going to have to sort itself out. But these people who have been manipulating things are now coming to terms with they don't have the money that they used to have because of all this. So this drop in the stock market is part of what they're doing. Fortunately, Trump and MBS were patient, and they didn't use the petrodollar manipulation until after the U.S. economy had been significantly strengthened by Trump's pro-growth initiatives. Number 7. This is the last thing the Rothschilds and Pacers expect. They never thought the Saudi king would play economic warfare and start messing with the petrodollar. They thought all MBS cared about was the money because that's all they care about. They thought wrong. Trump and the king are now letting the world know they control the petrodollar now and will tank the price of oil as much as it is necessary. The Rothschilds and Pacers are caught short with the unexpected loss in energy costs. Their losses in other industries are huge as they are heavily invested in energy and expecting those stocks and profits to climb. This forces them to liquidate stock assets in response, tanking the stock market. Explaining a few things? See, this is what I said. It may or may not be true, but it does seem to explain some things, and it does fit with what's happening. All right, now the numbering is a little off here, so I'm going to do things a little different. So go with me on this. Number 9, with the Saudis crashing oil, the biggest hurt is placed on Iran since their cost per barrel is the worst of OPEC. Moreover, Trump reinstated sanctions and has closed loopholes that were open for years that allowed Iran to sell oil on a black market. What little oil Iran is selling now is worth a lot less, and they are economically placed between a rock and a hard place. Let me read number 10 too, because I think these go together, and on the other one it'll fit. The deep state can no longer fund rogue agents in Iran as easily anymore, at least not since the CIA has been cleaned up by Trump. I don't know if you realize it, but the CIA had a lot of black ops going on both in Iran and in North Korea, and that's why Trump has really focused on those two areas. He needed to clean out the CIA. And that's why Pompeo was first appointed as the head of the CIA, so he could check things out and he could stop a lot of this. Then he was put into the Secretary of State position, and that made it easier for him to keep track of things. He knew the stakes, he knew what was going on, he knew the players very well. So it helped him in his task as Secretary of State. Also, Obama isn't sending plane loads of cash to them anymore. Not that all those cash-loaded planes went to Iran. They didn't. This is what this guy says here. With the crashing oil prices, the mullahs are beyond desperate. The price per barrel produced in Iran, already the lowest of the OPEC countries, and they can no longer easily sell oil on the black market thanks to the sanctions. Trump also isn't sending plane loads of cash to Iran like Hussein Obama did. Number 11. Ultimately, this means Iran is now in a very dangerous position. There is option A, don't give in to the U.S. pressure, remain a pawn of the deep state, and as a result, possibly be overthrown by your own people. If there is an uprising in Iran, Trump and America will support it. Option B is walk away from the puppet masters and become a peaceful member of the world community, which will never happen since those in power in Iran have already been corrupted by the deep state. If they walk away, the deep state will suicide them. This leaves only option A, or should I say option Q. This guy says basically the same thing. Iran now faces two options. Option A, continue fighting a battle that you can't win and face being overthrown by your increasingly enraged citizenry, an action the U.S. and Saudi Arabia have vocally supported. Or Option B, defy their puppet masters and pledge to be a peaceful, cooperative member of the world community by detailing and providing evidence of the nefarious activities they have committed on behalf of those that control them. Option B would leave them as targets for elimination by the very powerful people who do not want to be exposed and held accountable, which leaves only option A, or should I say option Q, resist and be overthrown. And that's likely what we're seeing. Something else that I wanted to show on this, going down to the next one, this Q and Oil here says, here's one of the follow-up comments on another forum. Again, when they says on another forum, he means 8chan. They just don't say 8chan so people don't think negatively of it before they actually read it. Not my comment, just copy and pasting somebody else's comment. Seems about right, plausible theory, and would make sense. As dust settles, clearly Khashoggi a slide to wedge Trump and MBS. Yes. Had not made the connection to world markets, interesting connection to Iran, no better way to sink Iran than price of oil dropping. Yes. And then we go down to this guy. This was the original poster, the top one. Strangely, I found the attached image after making the above post, or else I would have included it. In the image, you see Alwaleed bin Talal, and look who is with him. They seem pretty chummy. That's this picture right here. Here's Alwaleed, and guess who this is? That's Khashoggi. Right there. But look what else this guy says. I also heard that Alwaleed bankrolled Obama's education at Harvard and got him started in politics. Supposedly, here is the source. When asked about Obama by the show's host, Dominic Carter, the respected black politico Percy Sutton casually explained that he had been introduced to Obama by a friend. The friend's name was Dr. Khalid al-Mansour. Who is Khalid Abdullah Tariq al-Mansour, Ph.D.? He co-founded the United Bank of Africa, the World United Bank of Africa, and the Saudi African Bank. Since 1996, Dr. Al-Mansour has been a legal and financial consultant to various public and private companies, including none other than Alwaleed. According to Sutton, Al-Mansour was raising money for Obama's education and had asked him to please write a letter in support of Obama, a young man that has applied to Harvard. Sutton gladly obliged. When Sutton died in December 2009, an enormous loss, said Obama. So yeah, some connection there. And this guy says, and since I'm here, I thought I'd point out something that should be obvious to everyone, but always seems to be the first thing overlooked. It goes like this. Number 1, the news media journalism is there to bring facts to light. Number 2, since facts put governments at a disadvantage when they have to deal with other governments, those governments actively work to prevent facts from being brought to light. Therefore, it seems that there is a natural animosity that seems to brew between the two. However, point number 1 is clearly false. In other words, the news media journalism is here to bring facts to light? Not necessarily. Point number 1 is the misdirection, the illusion. The purpose of journalism isn't to bring facts to light. The purpose of journalism is to make money, at least in today's world. Good stories make money because they drive up click volume. Therefore, journalists do not report the facts. Instead, they report the spin. After all, does anyone think it is strange that I can accidentally stumble across this information, whereas tens of thousands of highly paid and highly trained investigative journalists are unable to find or report on any of it? What are the odds of that? Anyway, since both 1 and 2 actively seek to distort facts, it seems that 1 is forced to find them for yourself. And that brings me back to this post. I'm looking for truth and facts. Share if you care. So that's kind of my motto there. I'm looking for the truth because we're not getting the truth from our media. Our media skews what we're watching, what we're hearing, what we're seeing. It is all according to their agenda. I mean, you have to think about it. On any given day, there are millions of stories out there across the world. Who decides which of those stories are put on national news? It's a very small amount of people who do that. And so what we see is controlled by that. It's amazing what kinds of things we don't see. If you read newspapers from other countries, you see that there are things that are included in their news that we don't see about them, and vice versa. They're only getting parts of our news. And unfortunately, the parts they're getting are from the mainstream media. So a lot of other countries have a bad impression of us because they're not getting the truth. All they're getting is the same propaganda and lies that our American people are getting because that's what our liberal media is putting out there. So my suggestion is do your own research. When I give you links down below, go to them, check them out for yourself, share them with other people so people can start seeing the truth. Now again, this isn't Anand's idea. Is it true? I don't know if this is really what's going on with Trump and Khashoggi and MBS. I don't know if that's the situation, but this does fit. And it does seem to answer a lot of questions. So until I find something better that I've dug up, I'm going to say probably this is what's going on, but who knows? It'll all come out in the wash. And I think this is why Trump is so reticent to condemn MBS. Because there is much more going on. That I know. There's much more going on behind the scenes. And MBS truly is trying to work with Trump and trying to clean up Saudi Arabia, which needs it desperately. So this is one of those things where we're going to have to watch it play out. But when people jump on Trump and say, oh, it's all just because he wants to save jobs, yeah, he wants money, that's the only reason behind it. That's not his reason for not condemning MBS. MBS is being set up by the deep state. I really believe that is true because it just looks too fishy, and MBS has denied it. Of course, if he was responsible, he'd still deny it, but it just seems too convenient. And there would be no reason for him to do it in the first place, except Khashoggi was working with the Muslim Brotherhood, and maybe that would be a reason why MBS would want to take him out. But I don't know, and I don't think any of us have enough information. And the reports that the CIA said definitively that MBS was behind it is a lie. That's not true. It's something that the liberal media has created. No, they didn't say that. They take the words and they twist them around. Now, the CIA, as of now, is suspicious that that's probably what happened, but they're not saying definitively. And there's a big difference there. So we need to be careful and listen to what the CIA is actually saying and not what the liberal media says they're saying, because the two are not the same. So that's it for now. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you later.